Hello, I'm Emma. Today I'm going to talk you through Infusible Ink pens. Now I have a separate video for Infusible Ink transfer sheets, so if you're after those, head over to that one. But I'm going to talk you through the pens, how they work, and what to use them on, everything like that. Now these pens work with all of your machines. CRICUT Joy has its own style, a slightly different size, so just be aware when you're shopping for pens. This is what the CRICUT Joy ones look like. They're a lot shorter and they have a kind of rounded tip. The ones for your Maker and your Explore, slightly longer, the cap is bigger. So just keep an eye out for the difference there depending on which machine you're using. They come in a variety of thicknesses and colours too. So also double check if you want the thicker 1.0 or if you want the thin fine liner 0.4. But that's what they look like. And how does Infusible Ink work? I hear you asking. So basically this is a really clever system that CRICUT brought out late 2019, and it basically infuses into the fabric all the material that you are using for your project. So it turns into a gas and it actually infuses in. So unlike iron-on or vinyl, where they sit on top of the material, Infusible Ink heads in. So these are almost like a fabric pen, you could say. They're going to be long lasting and they're going to stay in your fabric or on your blank for ages. They're going to wash perfectly, they're not going to lose colour because they become a part of that fabric. And I've got a couple of examples for you because there's a wide range of blanks you can use with this. You've got the corkback coasters. These are bugs I have drawn on my machine with the pens and then coloured in by hand to make a set of coasters. You also have ceramic coasters. So you make some really beautiful long-lasting designs of those. You've got tote bags in a couple of sizes. Again, this is something I drew on the machine and then coloured in my hand to make a lovely floral design. And then don't forget, you've also got the t-shirts as well. And the aluminium sheets that CRICUT do will also work with Infusible Ink. I'm sure there'll be more blanks out, but those are the most compatible. Now you need to use a compatible blank for Infusible Ink to work, and that's why CRICUT have brought out their own blanks, because you're going to get the best results. Now if you want to use a t-shirt or a garment that isn't an Infusible Ink CRICUT blank, then you need it to be at least 80% polyester, but if you can go for 100%, perfect, and you want it to be a light colour. Then if you're looking at coasters, things like that, you need to be looking for sublimation. That's the word you need. That's got the materials that you need for this to work with your blank. So check out for those two things. Now we can use the pens in two ways. We can draw without a machine, by hand, so kids can draw with these. You can draw yourself your own designs, or you can pop them into your machine and get the machine to draw it, and then of course you can use it as is, or you can colour in your design too. The only thing to be aware of with the pens is that you need to mirror your design. So this is easy to do of course on the computer, just as we would with an iron-on design. Click that mirror button, but remember, especially if you're working with children and they're doing any writing, you need to flip that to be the other way around. Else when you pop it on your project, it's going to read backwards. Now you don't need any fancy paper, just your paper from your printer will do. Standard copy paper, the type that you pop in your printer to print at home, perfectly fine. I'm using a pack I bought in the pound shop in a rush, but there's no fancy paper. Just be aware, you don't want a paper where either the quality is poor or it's a kind of thicker watercolour style paper where the ink is going to bleed, because then you're going to get that bleed on your design. So, but you can see that before you press. You'll be able to see if your paper's doing that for you. let's get started. I'm using Joy today just because she doesn't get many outings in videos, but all of these steps are exactly the same for your Explore Air and your CRICUT. Remember though, you've got an accessory port to pop your pen in, whereas with Joy we're going to take the blade out and pop it straight into the blade port. So I found a design. I'm using one of CRICUT's designs that is made for the pen. It is a drawing image, but you can of course convert your own images to be draw. Just change the line type to draw at the top, and you can change any images or fonts you want to use to be able to be used with the pen. So I always do a quick check on a scrap piece of paper that my pen is working, especially if it's brand new. Pop the lid on the top so I don't lose it, pop it in and close the clamp. Now I am going to select my material for the machine, and I'm just going to select copy paper. There we go, so I've selected paper, and now all I need to do is pop a piece of paper onto my mat and get it ready to cut. So I'm going to grab my mats. You will need to do this on mat if you've got the Joy. This is exactly the same with Maker or Explore. You're just going to pop your piece of paper straight down onto the mat. So I'm going to pop mine like so. And I've moved my design on the mat so it's kind of in the middle, so I've got a little bit of edge to work with later. And let's load that into the machine. Press go. And I'm going to let the pen do its thing. I've actually chosen one of the continuous line designs that are new in CRICUT Design Space, so this whole design is going to be done in one go, which is really cool. Now, other things you need to work with Infusible ink is something called butcher paper. That's the American term for it. Here in the UK, we call this baking parchment or baking paper. Here's a roll that I got from the pound shop. It's exactly the same thing you'd use to put under cookies or, you know, sausage rolls in the oven, whatever. And you only need one piece of this for each project. And the reason for that is, as your Infusible ink turns into a gas, that gas can either go onto your plate, the plate of your press, or into your easy press mat, so you need to protect it. So therefore this is going to catch any gas that hasn't gone into your project, and if it had gone straight onto your plate without this, what you're going to find is you're going to get a little bit of your previous project on your next project next time you use your press. So this is really important, and again, if you use it twice, you're going to get that ghost design. Sometimes you might not even be able to see it until it's pressed, and then your next project is ruined. So I would advise getting a big roll of this so you can use bits carefully as you go. Right, our design is complete, so let's unload. And you can see there I've got my drawn design, and as usual I'm going to peel the mat away from my design. Put that to the side, and I'm going to work on one of the cork coasters for this this project. So I'm just going to carefully cut around my design, leaving a nice bit of border so I've got something to work with. This doesn't have to be neat. And all you're going to do first of all is wipe your coaster with a lint-free cloth, and that's to get off all of the little lint particles, the dust particles from your coaster, because you don't want them to react with heat and then you get blue speckly bits on your project. So always give a wipe, pop your design down, get it exactly where you want it, and then you're going to tape it into place using your heat resistant tape. And I cannot stress how important that is. Do not be tempted to use a masking tape or a washi tape or sellotape, because it's just going to melt. You're going to end up with a really sticky, horrible mess. So make sure you've got your heat resistant tape. And you only need a little bit of this. I'm going to cut a few pieces, and you want to make sure you tape from front to back. So So I'm going to take all the way around my coaster. There we go. Another bit there. And you can put on as much as you like here to make sure that your design is really well stuck down and it's not going to move. Okay, let's pop Jewell away and then we can set up our easy press. Okay, so first thing first, I am heating up my easy press to 205 degrees centigrade for 40 seconds, and I've found that temperature on the CRICUT heat guide. If you just type into your search engine CRICUT heat guide, you'll find that there, and you'll be able to pop in exactly what type of infusible ink you're using, what blank you've got, and what type of easy press you've got. Now remember, you cannot use infusible ink with a home iron, it just does not get hot enough, and you also can't use it with an easy press 1. So if you have the blue easy press, it doesn't get hot enough. The red one is the one you're going to use for infusible ink. So let's prep our mat. We've got the CRICUT easy press mat there. We're going to pop a couple of sheets of paper or cardstock down onto our mat to protect it from those gases. Then we're going to pop our coaster with our design on top, and that's going to go face up. So our design's face down, but our coaster is face up. Then we're going to pop our butcher paper, our parchment paper on there. And then we're ready to press. Now, once you've popped your press on top there, you don't want to move it at all. You want to keep it as still as possible. So I've added 2 seconds to my timer so I can press the go button before I pop it down. Now, if this was a sturdy table, I would just step away and leave my press on top. But where my table's got a bit of give in it, that can affect the press, and what's really important with infusible ink is a constant press, a constant heat against. It doesn't have to need pressure, it just needs for the press and the infusible ink to be touching the blank. So that sandwich has to be really well sandwiched together. So I'm going to pick up my press, press the go button, pop it down, and hold that in place for the 40 seconds. Now the other thing to remember is that your design has to be smaller than the easy press plate that you have. So I'm using the 9x9. I need to make sure that my design is smaller than 9x9. I normally go for 8.5 inches. Just because it's a bit easier. If you've got the mini press, the same applies. You can't move the press because you're not going to get that constant heat for the amount of time. So you can only press your really small designs that are smaller than the easy press plate if you're using the mini easy press. There we go. We're going to lift up. Take away our butcher paper. And remember, that's now done, so we don't want that anymore. And then you need to wait for this to cool completely. Remember, that is really, really hot. It's 205 degrees centigrade. So you want to wait for that to cool. And if you can, bring it off of the easy press mat, because remember, that's still pushing heat up into your project. So set that aside and let this cool. Okay, so my coaster's now cooled. I'm going to peel the heat resistant tape off of the back and peel away my paper. And as you can see, here is my really bright purple drawn design. Complete. And that is how to use the CRICUT Infusible Ink pens. And the steps work exactly the same whatever blank you're doing. Just double check that CRICUT heat guide. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. See you again soon. Bye.